3, 2, 1, show love!
4,811 kilometers away, there's a village called San Miguel, Ecuador. It was there I met children whose smiles seemed like they could stretch halfway across the world. It was there one girl showed me more often than not the people who are the happiest are the same people who had to teach themselves how to smile. She wore her scars as proud as freckles that only helped to light up her face. You'd never guess that instead of counting sheep at night, she counts the number of meals she's had in the past week on her own 2 hands. She is the one in 3 children who suffer from malnutrition, but she's not just a number, she's a girl. She's 7 years old, she's from San Miguel, Ecuador, and her name is Maria. I don't understand when people asked me what it was like to see those who had nothing. In Ecuador, I saw people who had almost everything they needed, didn't always want more, and they were happy. You want to see people who have nothing? Walk 2 blocks down the street to your local grocery store. Pick up a magazine plastered with pictures of men who treat women like some prize they can win and throw away. Or a woman who wears so many layers of cover-up, it will never cover up the fact that money may be the only thing they ever loved. That is what it's like to have nothing. And yes, in Ecuador, I saw people who earned less money in a day than we keep in our back pocket, but they always had faith. It's for them that I've written prayers on too many pages of poetry to count. But they don't start with "Dear God" and end with "Amen." They start with "Please, God, help men who don't understand how to give. Help women whose main goal in life is to fit into a tighter pair of jeans rather than to live, and help children who are given a gun rather than a pencil, a beating rather than a meal. Help children who never get the chance to be kids. I've written prayers on Post-it notes. I've scribbled them into prose of poetry on every piece of paper I can find. I write because someone has to. I write because we're all made up of stories that make us who we are, and there are too many stories that have been through too many surgeries that we just see them as a number. 243 million children are forced to work before the age of 17. 22,000 children in developing countries die every day due to poverty-related illnesses. Now, we are all one person on this earth, and maybe one day our one will become part of a statistic we didn't know existed, so let's start caring now. Because I don't know a lot about world politics, and maybe I don't know a lot about this life, but I know that our hands are meant to fit together, that helping people is what we're here to do, so we can't let big numbers fade the faces of those who need our help. I know that 1 in 3 children suffer from malnutrition, and I know that girl. She's 7 years old, and her name is Maria. Who to be or who not to be is more like a rhetorical question in this society, where we're taught by society the only way we can see is through a lens of judgment that usually hides the truth. This is for the stories that society said were too normal to be published, the stories too common to be ignored. To the girl who doesn't like to admit that time is something more familiar to her hands than a handshake. The same girl that would rather hold the hand of a stranger than her own. Because you can't see in between the lines on her palms where she was never held as a kid. Instead, she had to hold her own with hands that were already scraped from trying to learn how to ride her bike. She knows what it's like to feel abandoned, to have nothing but blood in her heart. So she holds on to time, caressing its beauty, knowing for at least for a while it won't leave her. To the boy who leaves, with an abused mother and abuser father, running away was the first and most valuable thing he was taught. Commitment meant as much as a cigarette butt thrown on the side of the road, a word that scared him more than anything else. So when the smiling girl begged him to stay, he did what he knew best and buried his heart, knowing he could never give her the love she deserved. To the girl with a smile, whose makeup gets darker every day, hoping no one will notice the bags under her eyes. Not from being tired, just from being sad, but no one thinks to ask why. They think with the curve of her lips and an unwavering voice that can talk to strangers, she must be happy. They can't see the secrets tattooed into her skin that only she has to look at. They don't see her every morning preparing for World War III in her mind. There's a difference between smiling with your lips and smiling with your heart. As an optimist, I've learned to master them both, and that's a skill I'm both proud and ashamed to have. I'm both blessed and cursed to have, because I am guilty of the greatest and most frequent lie every one of us tells in saying, I'm okay. Because okay doesn't mean happy. It doesn't mean sad. It means back off, because we're all fighting our own battles, and there's no way we'll know everyone's story. We just have to recognize every person has one. Because that girl with too much time and not enough love, you could look at her and say, she's a druggie. The boy with no commitment, he's a high school dropout. And the girl with the smile, she's just a pretty face. Judgment is this word we think is too long to teach 5-year-olds, but somehow it's okay to ingrain it in their brains at much too young an age. We forget to explain that scars are invisible roots buried deep within hearts that don't see enough sunlight. That insecurities are burdens we try to hide from our mirrors. I was always taught that we have no right to judge someone who's happy. We still have no right to judge someone who's not.